Oh, God.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So I'll be running the service and Frank will be doing the sermon. So forgive me if I don't do it like Pastor Wes. I can't ever remember how he exactly does it when I get up here. For announcements, we have our hoagie sale on the 18th. You can order online or you can call the number that's on the insert. They're $5 and it's benefiting.
It's us paying for the active ticket, for the parsonage ticket.
It's helping our portion of paying for the parsonage. That was redone. Let's see, what else do we have? The Pastor's Fellowship and Discussion Night on August 1st. And the topic is the Trinity. The church picnic is on the 12th, and that's at Alan Lottie's house. That's always fun. And I think that's it. Does anybody else have any other announcements? If not, then we'll just let the music and the prelude get us ready for our worship. Bless the Lord, O my soul, and all that is within me. Bless God's holy name.
Bless the Lord, O my soul, and forget not all our sins.
Who forgives all your iniquity, who heals all your pain.
Who redeems your life from the pit of sorrow.
I'm sorry.
Who crowns you with
Steadfast
love and mercy.
Bless the Lord, O my soul.
Bless the Lord, for his mercy is never ending.
And if you will stand as you're able, we're going to be singing To God Be the Glory, hymn number 98.
Praise
with the opening prayer. We praise and thank you, O God, for you are without beginning and without end. Through Christ you created the whole world. Through Christ you serve. You made the day for the works of life, and the night for the refreshment of our minds and our bodies. Keep us now in Christ. Grant us the peaceful day and the night free from sin, and bring us at last to eternal life. Through Christ and in the Holy Spirit, we all bring glory, honor, and worship, now and forever. Amen. And Frank is going to read our first lesson, 1 Corinthians, verses 12 through 14. Oh, and you can sit down. I'm sorry.
Just as a body, though one, has many parts, but all its many parts from one body, so it is with Christ. For we were all baptized by the one Spirit, so as to form one body, whether Jew or Gentile, slave or free, and we are all given the one Spirit to drink. Even so, the body is not made up of one part, but of many. And now we'll have the kids come up. Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, we forgot the Apostles' Creed. Everybody would stand up. We'll stand the Apostles' Creed. Sorry, it's a little out of order. I believe in God the Father Almighty, creator of heaven and earth, and in Jesus Christ, his only Son, our Lord, who was conceived by the Holy Spirit, born of the Virgin Mary, suffered under Pontius Pilate, was crucified, dead, and buried. The third day he rose from the dead. He ascended into heaven, and sitteth at the right hand of God the Father Almighty. From thence he shall come to judge the quick and the dead. I believe in the Holy Spirit, the Holy Catholic Church, the communion of saints, the forgiveness of sins, the resurrection of the body, and the life everlasting. Amen. Now we'll have the kids come forward.
There we go. Excuse. Oh, relax. Relax. We're about to watch a movie. We're about to watch a movie. Now, I got a question for you. Do you know what a miracle is? What's a miracle? Give me an example. What do you think a miracle is? Here's a miracle right here. The bottom. Look at that. Why? It's a miracle. Have you been reading the dictionary? Because we're about to talk about miracles, and that's almost the textbook definition of a miracle. Excellent. It's when something that we can't believe is going to happen, happens. Now, a lot of times we remember all the miracles that Jesus did in the Bible, and we'll talk about them a little bit later. But this is something that we're seeing today, and the miracles happen today, you think? Yep, and we're about to show you one. Besides the miracle of the bottle, which, trust me, to Ms. Jen and I, is a miracle sometimes. We're about to show you a video of Shark Week. Again, ended up Shark Week, like I said, it's a safe place sometime. You're going to see a miracle that a guy does with a shark. And here's our caption: do not try this at home.
This gives Eli his best chance yet to attempt the technique on a large predator.
that was a tiger shark, pretty mean type shark, but he was able to put him almost in a trance and calm him down so much that he just was kind of ballerinating on the guy's hand. So that could definitely be considered a miracle. Anything that, like we said, is extraordinary or out of this world and we don't think actually could happen, could happen. And that's pretty neat. They can actually do that to most sharks. For whatever reason, they didn't try it with a great white shark, though. I don't know what they're waiting for. All right, let's thank God for all the miracles we have in our life. Thank you, dear Lord, for all the things that you've done for us, the miracles that we take for granted and we sometimes don't look at as miracles. And thank you for them and help us to appreciate them even more. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
And we're going to stand and sing hymn number 367, He Touched Me.
God for our prayers and praises and ask for prayer requests as well.
So I have big praises for my husband, who has been very ill, and I praise God for giving him back to us again, and for all the people on our my prayer list, and travel mercies for Lisa and Bob and Scott and Stephanie and the grandchildren coming home from their trip.
Enjoying the summer. Wow, our numbers are a bit lighter today. Any other ones? Yes.
When Zachary, all of his tests came out okay. We're thankful for that. But 4 years, 4 surgeries, a lot of tests error, we do not know yet why he won't eat. Actually, a reason something.
We'll have him come over and talk with Emily. She's got a whole new lease on an appetite, so maybe she can talk to him. That's amazing. 4 surgeries in 4 years and still can't figure out why he's eating, or not eating rather.
You have to tell me later, I didn't know all that.
Any others?
Taking the mom, just pray for her. Her spirits lifted more and not more, feeling better.
Mr. in church, we enjoyed having her come
Yeah,
down.
I'm sorry, she really wasn't feeling good at all the last part of the week. So,
Any others?
Prayers for the Lindsay family. Lindsey, first name D. Special friend from when I used to work up at Fort Dix. Her sister was just found in her home, demised for like 3 or 4 days.
Any others? Yes, I hear you. Sleep for Emily. No way. Alright, let's go into a time of prayer. Thank you, dear Lord, for always being with us and letting us know that we're not alone. Even though sometimes we get lonely and we wonder where you are always with us. Please, dear Lord, be with those that are sick. Please lay your healing hand upon them, like Zachary with this problem with his eating. Please lay your healing hand upon him and with the caregivers, and help the doctors to be able to find out what's wrong and be able to help poor little Zachary out. Be with the Lindsay family, who just dealt with a devastating blow of his death, and comfort them during this time of grief. Be with Doris and help her to continue to get stronger and come out even more, and be with her and restore her and give her more strength. Please be with those that are traveling, Scott and Lisa and Bob and Seth. Help them have safe traveling mercies, and we thank you for having safe traveling mercies for the pastor and Lois and getting them back. Praises for Anthony, who is getting so much better, and for the healing of him, and for the strength and the support of the caregivers to go along with that, along with those other ones that are sick and they're in need of your help. Please reach out to them and help us to always remember that when we need you, all we have to do is ask. All we have to do is close our eyes or even have that thought of that prayer to you, and you'll be there with us. You're always there with us, just as Jesus was with his disciples, as he taught them to pray. Our Father,
Who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread. Forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, power, and glory forever. Amen.
all right, now we'll have the offering. All stand for that. Doxology.
Praise God from whom all blessings flow. Praise Him, all creatures here below. Praise Him above the heavenly hosts. Praise Father, Son, and Holy Ghost.
Thank you, dear Lord, for this portion we're giving back to you. We know you do not need the money, but we can use this to further your ministry and spread your word into the world. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. All right, if you haven't figured it out yet, I'm not Pastor West. He's enjoying, well, he's not enjoying now because he had to come back to New Jersey. Was enjoying a nice vacation. But today we're going to go over the conference report. We go once a year down to conference, and we're going to do that report today with our sermon. I'm going to start out by reading from Psalm 77, 13 to 20. Your ways, God, are holy. What God is as great as our God? You are the God who performs miracles. You display your power among the people. With your mighty arm you redeem your people, the descendants of Jacob and Joseph. The waters saw you, God. The water saw you and right, and the very depths were convulsed. The clouds poured down water. The heavens resounded with thunder. Your arrow flashed back and forth. Your thunder was heard in the whirlwind. Your lightning lit up the world, and the earth trembled and quaked. Your path led through the sea, your path through the mighty waters. Though your footprints were not seen, you led your people like a flock by the hand of Moses and Aaron. Alrighty. Annual conference. The whole theme this year was miracles everywhere, and that's kind of we started out with the junior sermon with a miracle. And miracles, as we'll talk about, maybe are not what we normally think about. Usually we're thinking about biblical things. And it can be a lot of other things that God provides for us. What is annual conference? I do this every year as far as the... Okay, back up.
Oh, back?
My clicker didn't work.
Oh, back up. Oh, back up guy. Got it.
That's it. Annual conference is basically our administrative arm of the United Methodist denomination. This is just showing a map of the United States. Obviously, the United Methodist Church is worldwide. This shows our jurisdictions that we're in annual conference. We're in the green up there in the top right, northeast. We're in the northeast district. And then when we break it down further, it's kind of like the different levels of government, federal, state, and local, we're kind of the same deal. We have the annual conference, which is basically just the outline in New Jersey, and that's our New Jersey annual conference. Each year we have a meeting down in Wildwood, but for the whole denomination, every 4 years, we have one with the general conference. It's the overall big head honchos, I guess, that kind of create the rules and stuff. So that's just kind of a reminding of that. This, as we went down, the turtles were still crossing. Though this is an old slide, apparently, I don't know if they went to their union and said, listen, this is a long trek, we need more time. They actually started in May and went to July 15th. So apparently their union won out and they have a little bit longer time to cross the street before you go through. It was still in Wildwood, and yes, I still got to see the beach every day. It was actually sunny, it was nice weather out. And yes, the tram car is still there. So on the first day, last year when I went, I didn't really go. I did kind of a virtual conference because I was in room 10 of the NICU, and I had a much better view. That was kind of my view from the NICU when I did.
Sorry, I'm spoiling stuff.
It's all good. That was the view from the NICU, so it was definitely a lot better view. No offense to the conference, but so I kind of actually watched it all online as it happened. This year I kind of did a combination. First day, we took the family down. They had their own tram car, as you can see. They just had a canopy on it at that point. They walked the boards and I went into conference. So it was kind of nice this time. But I also was not able to, unfortunately, be there the entire time because that was during the funeral with Jack, so I came back. But networking for all these years, I had a lady down there that took notes for me. So we compared notes. I think I got to do a free sermon for her now at her church, but it's all good. So it was neat to have a little bit different perspective. But went down and walked through the initial part when you walk in the convention center and they have tables out all over the place, whether it be the United Methodist men, the United Methodist women, different mission things, they have all up and down. So of course I did my walk up and down to find out where the candy was that they were handing out for free. The pens, the pads, and all that stuff along with some good information as well. Picked up some books that are hopefully will help us out as well. So that was that first day initially. Then we went into the, actually this was one of the tables. I thought this was kind of neat, and this is going to lead into what Betty and I were talking about. This was a set of Legos at one of the tables. And if you might not be able to see it that great, but there's names of people on there, there's sayings, there's inspirational things on there. But they put all these Legos together, and I'm like, oh, this is cool, we get to play with Legos. And then right next to it was the initial verse that I had said about the different parts of the body making up one. So it was kind of showing how we're a bunch of different people, but together as a conference, as Methodist Church, as a body as a whole, we're there for Christ, and we can do a lot of the things together, not just one of us at a shot. So I thought that was kind of neat. So, in the spirit of Legos, I brought Legos today. And no, before you asked, it was already asked today, I didn't steal them from them. I bought these separate. They have their own. But they'll get some extra ones today. So what I'd like you guys to do, we're going to start off with Betty. I have 2 markers in there. I want you to take one of the Lego pieces, and it doesn't matter if somebody wrote on it before you get it, but I want you to write on the side, alongside somewhere. Either side, it's fine. I want you to write your name if you can't think of anything else. If you have a praise, something you're inspired to write down, I want you to write it down. And then next week, when you guys come in, we're going to look in the narthex, and we're going to see how all our parts can be put together to do something good. Alright, so Betty's going to start us off by writing it out, and we're just going to pass down. Like I said, if you can't think of anything else, just write your name. That's fine. We have 2 markers that you can write it down in, and just one of the 2 sides, or either side. And we'll see something neat next week.
What's your name?
Name.
Something that inspires you.
Or your name. Or your name. That's fine. I won't put anybody on the thing. Yes, ma'am.
Do you need them back today? Or
I'll
you?
give us a
Yeah,
few and then you
yeah.
can pass
We'll throw them back in the bag, and I'll take them back.
Okay.
If you want to write down something for somebody else, that's fine too. Write somebody's name that isn't here since we're a little bit late this week. So I went down, up and down the different things. We went into the conference center, and this is kind of what the stage looked like. Miracles everywhere. They had nice balloons. It was kind of themed. It had the nice cross, nice little thing there, some decorations throughout. And that was pretty much the conference area where we had most of our meetings and such. We started out, the first day is always the laity session and the clergy session. So all the clergy get gathered into one room, we get gathered in another room, we're supposed to talk for about an hour, and then we go to dinner. It's funny how the laity always make dinner on time. Clergy, not so much. But we were there, we talked about the laity board. They were introduced. They're the ones that govern the laity and give us resources. The lay leader for the conference, Rosa Williams, it was actually her last year. She's retiring this year. She started off by introducing everybody in the laity board and explaining what they do. Some of the different programs that are out there for the laity. And ladies us. Those that are not clergy, that come to church, that want to help out or do something within the church, we're the laity. So she went over some of the different accomplishments that they had, what the laity board was doing. There we go. Sorry, electronics is really going to work. They reminded us also about a program called the Laity Leadership Academy. This is a program that allows the academy for us to go and to be trained and give us resources to bring back to our churches. One of the neat things about this Laity Academy that's going to happen on October 6th is the fact that after we get done and we complete the Laity Academy, they'll give us a $500 grant that we can use to start a mission back within our church. So I'm actually looking into doing that. I'm not sure if Jen and I will both be doing it because we have some additional people that I don't know if they're going to get anything out of that, or the rest of the people in there, as you guys find out. But we will be possibly going there and looking to maybe get a sea grant. So it'd be kind of neat if we could get some people from our church to go. There's 5 different classes that you can go to. They serve you food, which is always a plus. They serve you food. What are you upset about? They also discussed about giving us better education for the ladies so we can do more in church. A lot of people don't like to do stuff in church because they just don't know what to do. They're worried about making mistakes. Well, they're going to give you some resources, some education that will help you so you'll understand what's going on. We make mistakes anyway. Pastor makes mistakes. It's all good. So this just gives us some resources that will help us out with that. After polling the conference, and again that's the whole state of New Jersey, they came up with a new strategic plan of where they want to go from here forward. They actually looked at the last strategic plan, and a lot of it was trying to grow churches, grow congregations, make them more vital. You don't like that? And make them more prosperous. And what they decided was they did a lot of good with that, but there's still more work to do. So a lot of the goals and topics were repeated again. They're still working to make even more disciples for Jesus. Growing vital congregations, making them more vital, more into things, especially in the community. And transforming the world with Christ's love. They talked also about a lay minister program that they've been doing. They have since switched it to in-person to an online version, but they showed all the progress that this program's had, and they actually celebrated the guy that was doing most of the teaching. He came up and was saying what a blessing it was, not just to the students that became lay ministers, but to him as well. They also talked about the celebration of Laity Day, where they had laity from all around the conference come up that were nominated and celebrated what they've done in their church. Jen and I were fortunate to go up, and we got our nice little pennant there from the day. It was a nice little celebration, and thank you for what you guys do in the church. And it was neat because you got to hear from all around the district the different things that people do. And kind of like the fire service with me, we borrow other people's ideas and we use them in our church because they work. If they work, let's try it. So we've done different stuff like that. But honestly, we have Frank and Jen up there. It's really not Frank and Jen. It's really the entire church. Because we might come up with an idea here or there, but if we don't get help from you folks, they never happen. So it's kind of it has names up there, but it really should be for the entire church. And I'd like our goal be to get another one of them next year for another set of people that help out in the church and continue that. Next thing you know, we'll have banners all the way around the church. It'd be kind of neat. We'll look like a sporting gym, and we'll have the years that we go through. It'd be neat. As I said, the theme for the conference was miracles everywhere, or miracles happen everywhere. I looked miracles up in the dictionary because, again, when I think miracle, I'm thinking the Old Testament or the New Testament, and I'm thinking of Jesus healing people. I'm thinking of Moses parting the Red Sea, and there's got to be more to it. So I looked it up, and it says an extraordinary event manifesting divine intervention in human affairs. The healing miracles described in the Gospels. Like, okay, well, that's cool. The dictionary actually refers to the Bible. That's pretty nice. Divinely natural phenomenon experienced humanly as the fulfillment of spiritual law. And again, still kind of going with the Bible. Which again, nothing wrong with it. It's actually refreshing to hear a book other than the Bible referring to the Gospels. The one that got me was the last part, an extremely outstanding or unusual event, thing or accomplishment. A bridge is a miracle of modern engineering. With this version of the miracle, one can see a lot more, and then we can actually see more miracles than today, because we don't usually go down the street and see somebody lay their hand on somebody and say, you are healed. We see it on some of the TV shows that may or may not be quite there. But we can see a lot of the different miracles. So it was kind of neat. We think about miracles in the Bible. There's the word miracle is listed 30 times in the Bible, both in the Old and New Testament. Jesus himself performed 35 miracles. In those miracles, he raised 3 people from the dead. 9 showing the power over nature. And if we remember some of the stories, in fact, I think the pastor just talked about one, and we had one for junior sermon where Jesus calmed the seas. There was 23 healing, which is probably what we think about most. We can go back to the burning bush, Moses' staff turning into a snake, Jesus changing water into wine, his first miracle, Jesus healing the sick, Jesus calming the storms, feeding the 5,000. The list goes on. Now think about today's time, not necessarily biblical. What miracles have you heard of today? What miracles have you seen? I had a friend that had twin boys. One of the boys very healthy. The other one had a lot of medical issues, to the point where he was having problems digesting. So they went in and they actually, in fact, now I think that reminds me of Zachary having problems with digestion. Went in and his intestines were just like a ball. They weren't the way they were supposed to be, just like a ball. So they were trying to figure out what they were going to do. When they went back in the next time, they were fine. Everything was the way it was supposed to be. That was a miracle. There was one I just saw on online, and I thought it was really, really refreshing in today's day and age about a miracle. Again, astonishing, unusual. There was a wallet that was lost. $700 was within this wallet. Kids were caught on video returning it back to its owner. And that's something you don't hear about every day. It definitely qualifies as unusual and a miracle. The miracle of birth. My goodness. Jen and I can attest to some of it, that, you know, it's tough sometimes to have babies. And then when you get into that position, you start to learn more about all the different problems and issues. And the actual miracle of birth, how hard it is to actually get pregnant. The odds are astounding when you actually get out there. But God makes it happen. And then actually, if you ever get to see somebody delivering, some may turn green, but it really is cool. It really is a miracle. And people think about this all the time, and we see this. Another one, we might not think maybe is a miracle, but a gentleman was going to work one day, and this individual had to go distance, so he was going to the airport on a fly. So he says goodbye to his wife, kids, goes off to the airport, ends up, for whatever reason, traffic, whatever, missing his flight. So how would you feel at that point? Monday morning, you missed your flight, you're going to get grief from your boss. If you're like me, you probably may or may not have your cup of coffee that morning. So things are just like domino effect, getting worse and worse and worse. Come to find out, the plane crashed. That he would have been on. A miracle. That he was not on that plane. So miracles we see every day. Sometimes we just blow them off and say, wow, that was pretty lucky, that was pretty cool. But really, God's out there looking out for us. On the second day, one more. Go back to it. I'm sorry. Okay, maybe not. On the second day, the bishop gave his Episcopal address, which is basically the president giving the State of the Union of the annual conference. He started out by discussing a miracle that he had witnessed. It was a church who had enough money to keep their doors open for 6 months, and then they were done. They had it all planned out. They were going to start to close. They tried everything, couldn't get things to work. So at a last-ditch effort, they decided, we're going to go into the community. We're going to talk to the community. We're going to get involved with the community. They went into the community to help them and see what could happen. Now they're a thriving church. A thriving church. They went from, we're going to be closing our doors, to now we have a ton of people coming in our church, which is something that we can do here as well. Thankfully, we're not in that boat, but hey, look at today. We get our vacation a little bit lighter. We can actually be a thriving church as well, and we strive to do that, I know, in a lot of the projects that we take on. Conference, as a whole, we have to pay money each month as our church to the conference so they can have supplies, money goes to different things, while the conference itself has to pay to the general conference. We, for the 11th year in a row, paid our 100% of our apportionments, which was nice. Conference overall has increased in worship attendance. So all of our churches together, we've increased in worship attendance, which is another good thing, because unfortunately, usually every year we have 3 churches closed. So this is nice to see a rebound on that. Conference is putting resources together to get ready for the next generation of disciples. They were working towards that, and one of the things they want to do is make disciples that make disciples. So make disciples, people that are going out into the world, but have them make disciples as well and keep the tradition going, or keep the system going. More resources are being made available to the local church, which is actually part of the old strategic plan with the Hope Everywhere, the Future with Hope. In our conference, 91.5% of the churches made their apportionments, or their monthly amounts, to the conference, which was nice because in turn, the higher number that percentage goes, the lower we have to pay. So less money we have to pay each month, which is nice. The new campaign, Miracles Everywhere, is slated to raise $5.5 million to go out into the world. They did talk about the commission to move forward, which if anybody hasn't heard, I know the pastor sent some stuff out, I've sent stuff out, about moving forward as far as the human sexuality legislation that was back 3 years ago. They came up with 3 different plans that they think will allow us to stay together as a United Methodist Conference, or United Methodist denomination. He was talking about the 3 different ways, and the one that the bishops actually put forward and think is going to be the best one. Next February, 2019, they will be voting on that. So we will see where our denomination will go from here. There's definitely a lot of concerns, depending how the vote goes. So our conference absolutely, and our denomination needs a lot of prayer for mindful thinking and how we're going to move forward with this to try to be one denomination and move forward together. Legislation was done. There was a little controversy on the legislation, big shock with politics, but there was a piece of legislation that was put before the body to vote on, and that was on school segregation. Now, I'll be honest, I'm here thinking school segregation, and I think I'm back in the 1800s, or I guess early 1900s. But apparently they're talking about fair and equal education for everybody. And the piece of legislation was brought up, but it was actually the resolution to it was already done before we voted on it, which caused a little bit of controversy. Apparently the bishop and a couple others had gotten together, were approached by the lawsuit, which this vote was about, where we were suing the Board of Education, or the Division of Education, because of this segregation in schools. So they wanted the United Methodists to come on board with that. So the bishop and a couple others went up, and apparently a week prior to us voting and going down there, they're supposed to sign everything, put it, dot the T's, dot the I's, cross the T's, get everything done. Well, that was before we had a chance to vote on it. They wanted to do it in honor of Brown versus the Board of Education. So they wanted to make a historic date event thing. So it was voted on that we're going to join this. Then we came and voted on it. So as you can see, there's a little controversy. Nobody was against the legislation, just the way it was done, unfortunately. Strategic plan was went over, trying to cultivate 100 clergy and laity leaders to make disciples, who make disciples, develop more resources for the church, have 100 sustainable growths in our congregations, develop new lay leadership, and create methods to recruit youth leaders. They went over a Future with Hope, which was our past campaign and all the good it did. They made 50,000 meals, 5,000 sheltered, and this was after Superstorm Sandy, 11,000 cleaning buckets, 3,000 health kits, 2,000 muck outs, which is when all the debris and stuff went in, they dug out the cellars and so forth down the shore, 15 Hope Centers, 515 churches supported this mission fund. 46 states and 2 countries outside the U.S. came and helped with Superstorm Sandy and all the clean out. They're transitioning now, since that's pretty much done, the Hope Centers the centers into Hope Centers, where they're actually going to go out and try to help communities that are not doing so well. Try to help with unemployment and other things that they can help with in the communities. The third day, which was the day I was not there, I got some information from one of the ladies over at the Wesley Church. She said the bishop said that God wants women to lead men, which, not a bad thing. We allow, as Methodists, women to be pastors, women to be bishops. So it's kind of a neat thing that he wants to try to promote that even more. This year was the 50th anniversary of the New Jersey Annual Conference. If you've ever seen different stores, and I know I've worked for a couple companies where we started out as this company, and then another company comes along and buys us up, and another company buys them up, and it might have been 2 guys in the beginning, and then Kmart in the end, or Walmart. That's kind of the way that our conference worked. We were a bunch of different organizations, and we actually came together in '68 and made one of our most recent transitions. So they celebrated the 50th anniversary of that. Reverend Susan Henry Crow, who's the General Secretary of the Board of Church and Society, gave a speech there. She said the following: "We should visit the building. We should also give others in need all we can. God has given us all we need." And if we think about that, it's true. He gave us the air in our lungs. We have food to eat. But how much of that sometimes do we take for granted, myself included? You get stuck in that rut, you're like, oh yeah, oh man, great. I wanted to get that new car, we got a ding in our car, our air conditioner went out. But what do we really need? And what has God given us? God has given us everything we really do need. How much of that have we thrown away, she said. Which again, goes back to appreciating what we have and not really maybe appreciating some of the stuff that we have as much as we should. In fact, it actually reminded me of a movie, and one of the first officer of the ship said to his captain that your best destiny is to manage the ship. Anything else, and he had just gone for a promotion, so he wasn't managing ships anymore, he was doing other stuff, is a waste. And how much of the tools and stuff has God given us that we waste and we do other things? Appointments were read out. Reverend Ron Wyatt spoke at the service of remembrance. And the service of remembrance is basically we go back through that year and all the people that we've lost and have a little service of remembrance. He spoke about the witness stone and how that stone can speak to us. He said, Peter said, you are a living stone, imperfect and shaped by God. It kind of got me thinking about different stones there are in the world. And, hey, give me that click.
Huh?
Give me a click.
You got cooking?
One more. There we go. Does anybody know, this is your pop quiz for the day, does anybody know what these are? What's that? Okay, I think I heard what I heard the first time I said this. One day there was this young guy who was trying to impress this girl he was going out with, and he decided to meet her and go down the shore. He was going to ask her out on this nice beach. Thought it would be a great idea, nice romantic. Was planning it when the sun was going to set. It was all planned out. So he started out by meeting her halfway or partway, and they're sitting there in the car, and he whips out 3 of these stones. And he puts them on the dash. And he says to her, hey, what are these? And guess what the answer was? Who said it over here?
Pebbles.
Pebbles, stones, right? Stones, pebbles? Yeah, that's exactly what she said. And I looked at her and I said, huh, seriously? You don't know what a Cape May diamond looks like? These are Cape May diamonds. They look like this initially. They're kind of white. They almost have a marvelous look about them. But once they're polished up, they look like diamonds. They're clear. So it's really cool. They start out up in Pennsylvania and they work their way down to Delaware. They end up landing down in Sunset Beach and Cape May Point, right where the cement ship is. So when they get down there, they're almost translucent. You can almost see through them a little bit, but when they get polished up, this is what they look like. So they're the famous Cape May diamonds. And I know, like all of you men in our all 2 of you right now, you guys get diamonds for your women all the time too, right? I get them every year, or I at least let her see diamonds every year. We go down to Cape May at least once a year. So, but it takes what Peter said about us being an imperfect stone, and God is shaping us. This, again, travels all the way down to Delaware, getting shaped and moved by the water, and then when we take them and polish them up even more, they look like diamonds. So we take that off-white, shady color stone and make it into something that's really, really pretty. God's doing that with us now, and He continually does that with us, trying to get us better for Him. They also announced at the 3rd day that they have a project after the 2nd day. At the end of the 2nd day, some people go to classes, the others go to Rise Up Against Hunger. It's a group that provides meals for those that can't afford them themselves. And they made 30,000 meals. 30,000 meals that day. They also raised $12,000 at the gift shop, and $33,000 was collected for the mission with Hope. And there was also, and again, it seemed like it was a political or political issues out there. There was another issue about the bishop and his wife and different organizations who were working together, so they did a whole transparency thing, and they kind of wrapped up with, listen, can we try to talk to each other instead of worrying about the politics as much. Try to talk out some of our problems instead of bringing them up and making them fester even more. That was pretty much the wrap-up of our conference. It was rather uneventful this year. There wasn't a lot going on. I'm sure next year, after the judgment comes down for the way forward, it will be more stuff going on in next year's conference. So at the end of that, I hopped on my tram car. Well, guess not. See, I didn't have my coffee this morning. All right, let's pray. Thank you, dear Lord, for allowing us to kind of get updated on what our conference and our delegation and our denomination is doing as a whole to serve you. Please be with us, especially in the years coming forward and especially with next year, to look out and to make the wise decisions. Make the decisions that you want us to make to lead us forward in the way you want us to. Not necessarily what man wants us to, but what your will and what your desire is for us, because we are here for you. We are not here for us. Help us to remember this and help us to go out and touch lives. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Alright, if you can stand as you're able, we will sing This Is the Day, hymn number 657.
This is the day that the Lord has made, that the Lord has made. Let us rejoice and be glad in it, and be glad in it. This is the day that the Lord has made. Let us rejoice and be glad in it. This is the day that the Lord has made. This is the day, this is the day that the Lord hath made, that the Lord hath made. Let us rejoice and be glad in it, and be glad in it. This is the day that the Lord has made. Let us rejoice and be glad in it. This is the day that the Lord hath made.
Alright, receive the benediction and then we'll sing Open My Eyes That I May See. Dear Lord, thank you for bringing us here today, and thank you for sharing with us some of the miracles that you provide in this world, and help us to see the everyday miracles that are in front of us and share them with the people around us. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Push it down. Just remember to push those things when you roll it around.
The air.
It's one of those pillows. He's getting back. It's taking him a while. Yeah, he did. And so,
And they put the, like, stomach and
taking some